Hey everybody, good morning. That's an AC/DC song. It's a classic. That's a deep track. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to wait. By the way, let me go back. I'm so excited. It's a Trumpaganda conference, and we get to watch it together. I am your Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams. This is the live stream. We chat truth to power. Not a lot of power left, quite frankly. Like, what, 35 days until Trump is gone? Somebody fact check that. I don't know. What is it? It's the 15th? 35 days. The 20th at noon, and it's all over. It's all over for Mr. Trump, but he will not go away for more than 5 to 7 years, depending on what kind of say, because he's not going to be around that long. Hello, everybody. Hello, Marcy. Hello, Stephanie. Hello, Chuck. Hello, Leslie. Hello, Cujo. Hello, Collins Jackson family. Hello, everyone. Oh, I was there for a second. Oh, tricky. Oh, look what happens. My face looks very round in animate. I almost look like a female tennis player from the 80s is what I look like right now. If I just do that, I could totally take on Steve Carell and win. So the Kaylee Macaroni here is going to be doing a little bit of a press conference. So we're going to watch that. Please be sure to like this live stream. Thank you, Stephanie. So far, the right wingnuts haven't found us yet today. It gets entertaining when they do. I'm going to just look on the YouTube here and see. I'm watching one feed over. You can see what I'm watching over here. It's all about Hunter Biden. All about Hunter Biden. Let's see. Stop the Steal announcement. Major press conference. Oh, okay. So there's Stop the Steal announcement. So Right Side Broadcasting. Hold on. I'll bring it over here. Right Side Broadcasting is they're now calling everything a Stop the Steal announcement. Oh, and Rainy Rainbow's got a new one from 2 hours ago. I can't watch that without a copyright violation. We don't want to do that. Let's look here for the White House and see if they're going to be broadcasting this. We'll watch it here on the YouTubes. Yeah, holds a press conference live now. Live stream starting soon, so we'll watch that. So the last few days, we've heard a lot about how Hunter Biden was under investigation before the election, and Trump would have won had we all known that. And why? Why didn't the DOJ let us know that Hunter Biden was under investigation? They really should have. And really, it's just everything wrong about this country because the deep state didn't let us know that was going on. Where did I put that? Give me just a second here. Because I never produced it. Here, I'll show you guys. This is Fox and Friends this morning. Let's see if I can make this work. I'm going to bring it over here. I was just editing this, so I'm going to bring it over here. And then if I press F, it should go full screen. And there it is. Again, why? Why didn't the DOJ tell us? Why didn't the deep state let us know that something was going on with Hunter Biden, that he was under investigation for tax fraud, because everything would be different. And there's no answers to that. Fox and Friends has all last week. That's all it's been is why? Why didn't they tell us?
The Department of Justice.
I'm going to tell you. Hold on. First, I have to give you guys volume. That's a pretty good build-up for nothing. Let me give you guys some volume. And let's try this shizzle again. Going back, waiting, computering. Hey, Debbie. Hey, Rich. Good to see you. Executive producer Rich in here. Hey, Chris Wilson. Thanks for the super hearts, Leslie. I appreciate it. Here, this is the Brian Kilme talking about on the Fox and Friends about why we don't know about Hunter Biden. Oh, no, hold on. What he's talking about here is why Bill Barr won't announce that they're doing investigations into massive voter fraud. Why wouldn't the DOJ announce an investigation?
And the Department of Justice rules clearly say you're not supposed to reveal what's someone's being investigated, because forever they're going to be tarred if they don't if they decide there was nothing there and they decide not to go further.
Okay, so that's why the FBI or whomever was investigating, the IRS really was investigating Hunter Biden for some sort of tax matter. They didn't tell us because why? Steve, why, Brian?
And the Department of Justice rules clearly say you're not supposed to reveal what's someone's being investigated, because forever they're going to be tarred if they don't if they decide there was nothing there and they decide not to go further.
Okay. So that's the policy, and Fox and Friends knows it, but for whatever reason they just haven't mentioned it the last few days. I don't know why. Just wacky. If it wasn't for double standards, they would just be still stupid. That's a cliche. You can use that one if you want it. Geraldo. The Daily Show had a little thing earlier today on Fox hypocrisy, and I don't think I can show it to you. I can't. Oh, maybe I can. Hold on. Let me see. Let me look. Let me pull over my credit card information to your screen. Okay. What? What am I doing? I know what I'm doing. You can't see what I'm doing because I'm very secrety. And it's not there yet. Okay, so you're not going to see that. This is the best kind of entertainment, when I'm just alluding to things that you can't see. Go find it yourself. How's everybody today? It's good to see you. Hey, kids, if you'd like to support this broadcast and all this foreshadowing, which I do, and then without a payoff, thank you, judges, you can go to kevinleefather.com and become a patron. I keep saying that, I can show you this. I keep saying that I am going to update the credits, and at some point, I shall, and I will. Yesterday, though, kind of busy doing this. Hold on, I'll show you.
Run. Come here. Run. Come here. Drop it. Drop it. Oh, yeah. Ready. Go get it.
That is Safi. That is our friend's dog, and we are...
Okay, we're done then.
Yep.
Bye.
Right past us. There we go.
You're going to play?
Yeah,
You gonna play?
here she
Drop
comes.
it. Drop it. Run.
That is Safi, and she will play all day long. She's part black lab and part hyena, as you can see. Her father is actually Ed from The Lion King. So that's kind of cool. We're watching. It's a little too cold to go swimming, but I think Kevin Lee daughter has probably been in the pool a couple of times. Hold on, kids. Let's go back and see if the thing has started yet. No, it has not. I wanted to show you that because really, that's what life is all about. I would very much like to get, I'll tell you my plan. I would love to get a black lab and a golden lab, or some people call them yellow labs. Do you know in Newfoundland where labs come from? Because Labrador retrievers, that's where they get the name. So Labrador, the far part of Canada, in Newfoundland, or Newfoundland, if you say it like you should, but nobody does. They're called water dogs. They're not called labs. They're just called water dogs. Why? Because they love to jump in the water, of which Labrador has plenty. So I'd like to get myself a black lab and a yellow lab, and I'd like to name them Black and Tan, which, as some of you may know, is a beer. In the UK and in Ireland, Black and Tan is ubiquitous. It's all over the place. But it's not like a Budweiser there. It's very much like it was what like a microbrew might be here in the United States. So when you hear somebody order Black and Tan, you think to yourself, that guy's got class. So I'd like to have a black and a yellow lab and call them Black and Tan. But here's the thing. Blackie would be the tan one, and Tanner would be, so here, Blackie. And the yellow lab would come, and and then somebody at the dog park would go like, oh my goodness, Blackie is so adorable. And I'd be like, that's Tanner. What do you, oh, you called him Blackie because he's black. You're a dog racist. That is my plan to pick up chicks. Unrelated, I slept alone last night, which is great because I don't have to worry about eating onions or cutting my toenails. Haven't cut my toenails, wow, since... unrelated, I need new sheets for Christmas, so if anybody wants to buy... Because they're all, I don't know why, but my sheets get shredded, like down towards the feet area, the foot of the bed. So I flip them around, and then then they get shredded down again by the... I do cut my toenails. Whoa! This must be some powerful cranberry-infused vodka. Watch. Didn't happen that time. Can I use my toenails to grate cheese, Kevin? No, Producer Rich, I cannot. That is where the cheese comes from. A lot of people don't know that, but if you like blue cheese, that's how it's made. Also, if you like blue cheese, you're a monster! Oh, here she comes. Volume, please. Volume? No? Here we go.
Hello, everyone. Good
Hello.
afternoon.
Good
Yesterday,
afternoon.
the United States witnessed a medical miracle. The
Yeah.
first doses of a COVID vaccine were
We actually witnessed the medical miracle last week in the UK, and then a few days after that in Canada, and it's been in Bahrain and several... Anyway, USA witnessed it.
administered to frontline workers across the country.
Yay!
The president promised a safe and effective vaccine in record time, and President Trump delivered. Earlier this
Well, Pfizer delivered, actually, with help from the German government. But yeah, no, yeah.
year, we heard from several news outlets and so-called fact checks
Oh, yeah.
that President Trump would need, quote, a miracle to be right. That was an NBC News article. We were told
No, that's not what the NBC News article said. I covered this last night. Oh my God, it's like she's looking at my Twitter feed. I'll grab this for you. Hold on.
according to Helpline, quote, a vaccine will still take more than a year to develop. USA Today warned us that, quote, despite medical researchers' progress, the vaccine, quote, was more than a year away. And National Geographic even told us that achieving a vaccine within, quote, a year to 18 months would be absolutely unprecedented.
Yeah. That was correct. That's all the people that said it couldn't be done, and you grab an article from National Geo, Nat Geo saying it would be unprecedented. Holy crap, somebody stole my... Judges. Okay. It is unprecedented, Kaylee. But boy, you sure owned those Nat Geo bastards. I don't even have to fact check this. Go ahead.
End quote. These reports deserve their own fact check. False. President Trump has not only been the...
It's that easy. I will fact check what she just said. False. There you go. Boom. Wow! All this time and effort I've been putting into editing videos. I want to find that thing. I want to show you guys before we continue on, because there's been I know what it was. Sean Spicer. Give me a second here. We're gonna find Spicy here. That's what it was. I will find you the evidence. There's been several articles, they're making, NBC News said it could never be done. Now, there was one Dr. Redlener, who's an epidemiologist, who said it was preposterous that we might have a vaccine by the end of the year. Okay, so that's valid. I'm going to pull it up right now. There were several other articles that have been circulating around in right-wing media, MSNBC, etc., saying, it's never going to happen, etc. But if the headlines look like that. Here we go. I've got it right here. Boom. Let me pull this up, and I'll make it big So that one of them, they call this legacy media. One of them is PolitiFact, and PolitiFact, in fact, said it could end up being less than 18 months, closer to 12, or in an absolutely best case scenario, maybe less than that. So less than 12 months. That is exactly what happened. Let's say, here's another one of the articles. There we go. They call the president's projection of having a vaccine by the end of the year very credible, but it will be difficult. Okay, so that is correct. Another one of the articles. Too big for the screen. I'll do this. Experts think it's plausible that at least one effective and safe vaccine should be available within 12 to 18 months or even sooner. See that sooner part? That's now. Another one of the articles. If you read the article, but this is unprecedented, so it's hard to predict, said Dr. Paul Off. So he's saying, no one's done it so far, but it's very hard to predict. That's all. But and again, Nat Geo saying it would be unprecedented. That's a lie. All right, back to Kaylee. Again, what I should have done is just say, I will fact check that. False. Boom! It's so effective. Thank you, judges.
Optimist, hopeful to achieve a vaccine by year's end. He has also been a leader. Through Operation Warp Speed, President Trump, the businessman, and the president, as the innovator, has succeeded. President Trump directed military logistics experts at the Department of Defense to partner with health experts at Health and Human Services to ensure prompt delivery of vaccines and equipment.
Good.
This includes the appointment of 4-star General Perna, who oversees the global supply chain and readiness for the United States Army, as Operation Warp Speed's chief operating officer. The Trump administration...
Did she say cheap? Come on.
As Operation oversees the global supply chain and readiness for the United States Army, as Operation Warp Speed's chief operating officer.
Sounds like she says cheap. Is it because we haven't funded the release of the vaccine? Is that why? Because Congress hasn't gotten off its ass since May 12th, when the Democrats passed $4.3 trillion to cover things like the disbursement of the vaccine? And we're going to run out of money. There's going to be no money for sending the vaccine out. That's where we are right now.
The Trump administration supported clinical trials by working to enroll participants through NIH-funded COVID protection networks and provided funding and technical support through the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Disease and Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority. President Trump also directed industrial-scale manufacturing of vaccines to take place at its own risk before knowing whether these vaccines would be successful. It was a novel approach indeed to
at its own. Is that English? What is she? I know what the program did, but what is she saying? Is that confusing English to you guys as well?
Scale manufacturing of vaccines to take place at its own risk before knowing the Research and Development Authority.
Okay.
President Trump also directed industrial scale manufacturing of vaccines to take place.
Got it. Industrial scale vaccines to take place
at its own risk.
At the risk of the industrial... Judges?
Before knowing whether these vaccines would be successful, it was a novel approach indeed to vaccine development led by President Trump. The results of these historic investments will benefit...
Well, although Pfizer, for example, that wasn't led by President Trump, they were doing it. China did it. Russia did it. We don't know if those vaccines actually work, but they were doing it. Did Trump direct Russia to do it too?
The American people and will mark the beginning of the end of the pandemic. As the first doses of the vaccine are delivered and administered, we urge all Americans to continue to wash your hands, socially distance, wear a mask when you are unable to do so. We also encourage those at the state...
And we're having 800 people for a party here at the White House tonight.
...level to improve the early and aggressive use of monoclonal antibody treatments, especially among vulnerable Americans. The Trump administration led the way, approving monoclonal antibody treatments for outpatient use, issuing 2 emergency use authorizations in November. Additionally, through HHS's Office of the Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response, monoclonal antibody patient courses have been allocated to all 50 states. Together, these steps can play a significant role changing the course of the virus. Thank you to President Trump, and with that, I will take questions.
Thank you to President Trump. Oh, also the scientists and the doctors and the people who took part in the study at risk to their own personal safety. Wow. I was just looking into a medical study, actually. They outline all of the things that can happen. And, death is on there. And yet people agreed this is important enough, and I'm going to take a risk here, and I'm going to have people shoot an experimental, not just an experimental vaccine, but an experimental vaccination method. This mRNA stuff is we haven't really dabbled with it that much. We weren't really sure what was going to happen, and it seems to be an amazing success so far. Famous last words.
Ben.
Kelly, now that the Electoral College has voted, does the president acknowledge that Joe Biden is the president-elect? Does he have any plans to invite him here to the White House?
The president is still involved in ongoing litigation related to the election. Yesterday's vote was one step in the constitutional process, so I will leave that to him and refer you to the campaign for more on that litigation.
What is his reaction to Leader McConnell today congratulating Joe Biden and calling him the president-elect?
I haven't gotten the president's reaction to that yet, but the president, again, is pursuing...
I mean, it's only the lead story in the news and the #1 trender on Twitter, but no, we haven't talked about it.
Ongoing litigation, would refer you to the campaign for further.
Again, she works for the campaign as well, but she has to pretend she doesn't when she's on White House property. It's so asinine.
Though, for litigation, if the votes have been certified, if the Electoral College has voted, there doesn't seem to be a legal recourse at this point.
The campaign would have more specifics for you on legal recourse, but yesterday was one step in the...
Literally goes on TV every night on Hannity and talks as a member of the campaign, holding a paper. Hold on. Here's the evidence right here. We have the affidavits. Oh, that was cool. Kevin, no Kevin, Kevin, no Kevin, Kevin, no Kevin.
Constitutional process leading up to the January 20th date in the Constitution. Steve.
Does the president plan to take the vaccine and really do it in a public way to inspire confidence among people?
Yes.
So the president currently at this moment has said he is absolutely open to taking the vaccine. He's been emphatic about that to me privately and to you all publicly. But he did recently recover from COVID. He has the continued protective effects of the monoclonal antibody cocktail that I mentioned. And he will receive the vaccine as soon as his medical team determines it's best. But his priority is frontline workers, those in long-term care facilities, and he wants to make sure that the vulnerable get access first. Yeah.
By the way, Dr. Fauci has come out and said that Biden and Harris should get the vaccines ASAP.
Wouldn't him taking the vaccine set an example for Americans to give them confidence? Dr. Fauci, as well as Montef Slaoui, both said today that they think President Trump should get the vaccine. Because for himself.
I don't know. If I'm president and I've already had the virus, I would say, no. Let's make sure all the healthcare workers... I'm good. I'm good for now. I will absolutely take the vaccine, but let's make sure the healthcare workers, let's make sure all the old folks, let's make sure anybody with the underlying, et cetera, get them all covered. Then I will take the vaccine 100%. I guarantee, not that means anything with Trump, but that's if I'm president.
Would be to set an example. Will he do that? Like, why not do it just to show Americans that it's safe?
Because he
here's the problem. This is what's going to happen. So the vaccine will roll out. We'll start getting bigger and bigger numbers. More and more people will take the vaccine. At some point, there's going to be somebody in a long-term care facility who is probably in their 90s, gets the vaccine, and then dies a couple of days later from a heart attack or stroke that they would have had anyway. And that is going to fuel the anti-vaxxers. And it's going, is the vaccine safe? And then the news media will cover it. And Thanks, Facebook. Anyway, that's what's going to happen.
Also wants to show Americans that our priority are the most vulnerable. There will be some senior administration officials taking it publicly to instill that confidence. It is very important. And the president, no, but you'll learn in the next few days who that is, who those individuals will be. But they will be taking it publicly to instill confidence. The president wants to send a parallel message, which is, our long-term care facility residents and our frontline workers are paramount in importance, and he wants to set an example in that regard. I absolutely would be open to taking the vaccine. As has been reported, and as I shared with some of you yesterday, the White House, it will be a very limited.
Would be open to taking the vaccine? It's a really strange way to say yes. I would be open to a discussion of taking the vaccine. Absolutely. 100%. She says a lot of things in absolute. She likes absolutely. She likes to say absolutely a lot. You guys remember that?
Absolutely. This president will always put America first. He will always protect American citizens. We will not see diseases like the coronavirus come here.
Weird that we would be taking a vaccine for a virus that Donald Trump didn't allow to come to our shores in the first place. It's just odd. It's just very strange to me. But I guess you can't be too careful, because now that Biden's coming in, Biden will probably let the coronavirus into the United States. So probably guess best to get your vaccine, folks.
Limited group of people who have access to it initially. The president's tweet indicated that the White House should receive it at a later date to, again, prioritize the most vulnerable, but some career staff, national security staff, for the purposes of continuity of government, will have access, in addition to a very small group of senior administration officials for the purpose of instilling public confidence.
He has said that he thinks Americans will be able to take it if they want to take it. You're saying he's open to taking it. Is he going to encourage Americans to take it, or is he going to leave it up to Americans? Does he think Americans should get this shot?
Absolutely. Look, these are vaccines that he
Absolutely.
oversaw the development of. He has great
Absolutely.
confidence in. He wants to see all Americans get this vaccine, and he wants to see the most vulnerable among us get it first. But absolutely, he will be encouraging.
Absolutely.
Encouraging Americans to take this. Yeah. David.
Do you know specifically when the president will veto the National Defense Authorization Act, when he's going to send the paperwork over? And why would he veto that, given the fact it passed on veto-proof majorities in Congress?
So he still does plan to veto the NDAA. Don't have a timeline for you on that, but he does plan to veto it. He wants to make every effort to protect our military men and women, and will prioritize military funding in the big omnibus bill. But he also has other important priorities and I should say problems with the NDAA beyond just the absence of Section 230 repeal and beyond the inclusion of the Warren Amendment. One of the provisions of concern is provisions about troop withdrawal and deployment in Afghanistan, South Korea, and Germany. And so there are a number of provisions that he is.
Weak on China, but no Republican really seems to agree with on that. Why does he think the bill is bad on China?
So by not including a Section 230 repeal, what you're in effect allowing.
Weak on China. Oh, well, it's about Section 230. Very quickly, Section 230 is the waiver in the law that allows Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. to have people put comments on the site. So every tweet, for example, Twitter's not responsible for the content of that tweet. It allows people to have free expression on social media platforms. It was created for the internet. And Trump wants to get rid of it. Just get rid of the whole free speech. So if some idiot goes on, for example, the chat room right over there, and says that the vaccine kills babies, I might be held responsible for it. Or YouTube would be responsible for things that I say, and I say nothing but nonsense. Really, judges? Yeah, that was a joke. You didn't have to fact check. These guys are assholes. Yeah, right. I know. We know.
Is Twitter to continue to not censor Chinese propaganda. Recently, there was a tweet by the U.S., the Chinese Embassy in the United States about.
Again, they're against censorship unless it's something they don't like.
The Xinjiang province and allowing all citizens to enjoy the same rights, including freedom of religion. That clearly is not the case, as the Uyghurs have been absolutely tortured in that province. There was another tweet that they allowed about.
Not just tortured, absolutely tortured. Absolutely, everybody. If you have absolute vodka, drink it.
The virus originating in Wuhan. They said it did not originate in Wuhan. That obviously is Chinese disinformation, and the president's priority is.
That was OAN that started that. OAN started that rumor that it was made at a military base in North Carolina. OAN started that. Next question. OAN?
Is to ensure that that isn't permitted. Yes.
Did Leader McConnell give the president a heads up that he was going to talk about Biden on the floor today?
I'm not sure if he had any call with him prior to making that statement.
Okay. And is Secretary Mnuchin or Chief Meadows going to be involved in this bipartisan meeting that's happening on the Hill today at 4 o'clock about COVID relief?
I believe it's just congressional leaders meeting, but I'll get back to you if there is a White House presence there. But what I can tell you is that the White House has had a continuous presence in the stimulus talks leading on this for months, trying to get this phase 4 passed. And when I spoke with the chief about this again this morning, he noted that Nancy Pelosi has really been standing in the way of a deal going back prior to the election when she was anti-stimulus checks, something the president has been vocal about.
No. The Democrats are not anti-stimulus checks. Stimulus checks are part of the HEROES Act that was passed 127 days ago now. I just did that math in my head.
And then after the election, according to her, quote, she can now support these checks because of a, quote, new president were her words, which is appalling to think.
Those were not her words.
I think that politics was playing into COVID relief for the American people, and she stood against liability protection. This is protection for our small businesses so that they're not held liable for COVID incidences through no fault of their own. And
she said incidences. Ah! Incidences is not a word. It's incidents. Incidents. Oh, the insolences of these people. Let's go back and hear it again.
Held liable for COVID incidences through no fault of their own.
Incident. She is a Harvard Law School educated lawyer. Incidences. She is, by the way, her job, for which she makes $185,000 of taxpayer money every year, is communications.
That they're not held liable for COVID incidences through no fault of their own. And she's really playing up to the trial lawyers and opposing liability protection.
I don't know what happened. Let's try it again.
Inflexible. We've been the part this president did, making
down on what was asked about.
Emergency directive on Sunday night for all
this initial vaccine rollout. You have the vice president.
When I spoke with the chief about this again this morning, he noted that Nancy Pelosi has really been standing in the way of a deal going back prior to the election when she was anti-stimulus checks, something the president has been vocal about wanting. And then after the election, according to her, quote, she can now support these checks because of a, quote, new president were her words, which is appalling.
Deja vu.
To think that politics was playing into COVID relief for the American people, and she stood against liability protection. This is protection for small businesses so that they're not held liable for COVID incidences through no fault of their own. And she's really playing up to the trial lawyers and opposing liability protection, which should be something that's just mere common sense.
One other question about confirmations of Biden's cabinet picks.
Here's the deal. The liability protections for small businesses also apply to corporations, and the corporations pay for the Republicans. That's the way it works, because corporations are people too, but corporations can't be killed by COVID, and actual people can be. And Mitch wants the businesses, small, large, whatever, to be protected from any lawsuits of negligence if they happen to get their workers sick and kill them.
President Trump had the benefit of the Senate starting hearings and starting the process.
By the way, story hardly anybody's covered is the head of security at the White House. He had to just have his leg amputated because of COVID. There's just something called COVID toes. It's a blood disease, it's a vascular disease. And some people have to have amputations. Anyway, he needs like $30,000 to help pay his medical bill, so he's got to GoFundMe. This is the head of security at the White House. But you can't hold the White House liable for running around without masks on. How many people at the White House? It's literally a hot spot because people refused to wear masks for months. The president saying, I don't want to meet with a dictator with a mask on in the Oval Offices. What kind of incidences would that be?
This before he was inaugurated in January of 2017. Does the president oppose the Senate taking up Joe Biden's nominees before the inauguration?
I think that's a hypothetical, and he won't get ahead of that activity actually happening. But he has taken all statutory.
Well, anything in the future is a hypothetical then. Why are you there? Why are you taking questions if you're not going to answer hypotheticals?
Requirements necessary to either ensure a smooth transition or a continuation of power. Yes.
Thanks, Bailey. Given the success of Operation Warp Speed, why hasn't President Trump been more visible during this initial vaccine rollout? You have the vice president in Indiana today. Where's President Trump?
President Trump's been hard at work on COVID behind the scenes. Just because you don't see him at the podium every day doesn't mean...
Really, he's been hard at work at COVID because Vice President Pence is out there and he's literally the guy responsible for the COVID. I was going to say task force, but I've decided that Mike Pence is actually responsible for COVID.
Mean that he's not aggressively pursuing actions on behalf of the American people. He's briefed on COVID regularly, and I'm here speaking with you guys. Others are out communicating this information. Yeah.
Could you comment on the Russian hackers breaching several federal agencies? How serious
that happened?
Was this breach, and is the Trump administration considering retaliating?
Look, the U.S. government, we're aware of all of these reports. We're taking all necessary steps to identify and remedy any possible issues related to this.
Remedy? How do you remedy the fact that Russia, 18 months after Trump said he was going to sign some kind of cyber agreement with Vladimir Putin, that they hacked into the Department of Justice? I don't know how you remedy that. Actually, it was several departments, but...
situation. As one step in that process, CISA has issued an emergency directive on Sunday night for all federal civilian agencies to review their networks for indicators of compromise and disconnect or to power down SolarWinds Orion products immediately. So we are taking a hard look on this and obviously take any sort of cyber hacks very seriously.
And just one more question on Russia. Since Russian President Vladimir Putin has congratulated President-elect Joe Biden, any comment on that from the Russian president?
No comment on that. I'll leave it to the president to react to that.
Has he spoken?
Oh, when will the president react? Because he doesn't do it anymore.
To President Trump.
Will he be putting out a 46-minute rant video, strangely edited, with one camera over here? Wait, did I just disappear when that happens? No, it's just the back. That's weird. Oh, it's because the anime doesn't know how to handle my flowing locks in the back. Locks of love.
Trump?
Not that I'm aware of. No. Let's see.
Let's see.
Does the president intend to run for election in 2024, and would you like to be part of that campaign?
I will leave that to the president, but he's still pursuing ongoing litigation at the moment for this election. Yes.
Okay.
Todd.
Thanks. President Trump supported the Texas lawsuit at the Supreme Court, and a lawsuit that President-elect Biden called an assault on democracy. How is it not anti-democratic to try to nullify 20 million votes?
I think pursuing legitimate litigation through the judicial system is in no way assaulting democracy. In fact, it's using...
No, they wanted to nullify the votes of 20 million Americans. That was the goal. That was the relief that Texas was asking for. Nullify the votes in 4 other states. Whoa. Oh.
Democrat institutions in the manner they are to be used to pursue legitimate claims with sworn affidavits and additional evidence. But I do think what is an assault on democracy are the 4 investigations into President Trump over Russia collusion that turned up nothing. I mean, Mueller alone, you had 19 lawyers, 40 FBI.
I'm not even going to cover it, but yeah, there was a ton of Russian collusion, and all the reports showed that. In fact, the GOP-led Senate Intel Committee went so far as to say that Trump enabled the Russian assault. That's assault and enabled, both words in that in the conclusion of the Senate Intel Committee report. So yes, There was all kinds of collusion. Conspiracy could not be proven because, page 10 of the Mueller report, Trump campaign members encrypted data. They pled the fifth because innocent people. And get this, they deleted emails.
Agents 2,800.
Thank you, Burnmore, for the Super Hearts. Congratulations on your Tier 1 status. Next time you get a vodka, an absolute vodka on the flight.
Subpoenas, 500 search warrants, millions of taxpayer dollars, all to find no collusion, and the investigation into President...
No, there's a ton of collusion. They found a ton of collusion. That was the technical word for it, a ton.
President Trump began far before he was even elected President of the United States, and his intel briefings in the transition period were even weaponized against him. An insurance policy from Peter Strzok was put in place against this president prior to him being elected.
It's not what the insurance policy was.
That is what is an assault on democracy. Blake.
Thanks, Kayleigh. I want to ask you about COVID relief negotiations, but just to hone down on what was asked about the vaccine, yes or no, we should expect to see President Trump take a coronavirus vaccine before January 20th and do so on camera?
He will take it when health experts and his White House doctor ask him to do so, and says it's the appropriate time.
Jenna Jolly, prove what? Are you talking to Kayleigh? Are you talking to me? And then I see you also said there was all kinds of voter fraud. No, there wasn't. They've argued this in court. Several different judges have over 80 judges now. Many of them Trump appointees have looked at the evidence, at the affidavits, at the sworn testimony, at the actual testimony by lawyers in court. Trump has had several days of his court. And all of the judges have thrown it out, saying it's complete nonsense. Sorry.
He is very open to taking this, but also wants to prioritize our frontline workers. Since you brought up the vaccine, before you get to your next question, one thing I do want to make clear is that there are 2.9 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine that have gone out. In 21 days, there will be an additional 2.9 million of those doses because, of course, the Pfizer vaccine is 2 doses. And there are going to be rolling updates and shipments of the vaccines. Of course, we've secured millions in advance. And this Friday, there will be 4 million Pfizer vaccines going out.
Good.
We are hopeful that Moderna gets approved. The FDA said that the data looks good. We're waiting for that EUA.
Yeah, the Moderna data looks very good right now, so Moderna will probably be approved very soon, which is fantastic. And Operation Warp Speed was sort of involved with Moderna. Moderna actually got funding for the development before Operation Warp Speed that didn't exist before May. So they got that funding before from pandemic responses that have been set up for years in this country. Had nothing to do with Operation Warp Speed, but they did receive U.S. government funding, so the name was changed to Operation Warp Speed at some point. Good job. Good job.
So hopefully there will be that EUA and then an additional 6 million Moderna doses out next week. So 10 million doses out next week. And I want to emphasize...
Oh, no, but we've also proven that there was no fraud. Because in Georgia, where all signatures are verified... Not once, not twice, not thrice, but on the third time they're verified twice against the previous 2 signatures. They've now done 2 recounts, and both of those recounts say that Biden won.
Just stepping back from a macro perspective, because it is so impressive what this president did, making these agreements in advance. And he secured not just tens of millions of doses, but in fact, hundreds of millions. There's the 100 million with Pfizer. There's 100 million with Moderna.
Could have been 200 million with Pfizer, but he wanted to go with Moderna. Because Pfizer didn't take any money with him and sort of made public that they didn't want anything to do with Trump.
We've secured another 100 million from Moderna. We're hopeful that we will get an additional 100 million from Pfizer. I think we will. And then Johnson & Johnson is nearing the end of its phase 3 clinical trial. That's another 100 million doses secured, with hundreds of millions doses more if needed. And then AstraZeneca, which is in phase 3 clinical trial, 300 million doses secured. So it's a really impressive achievement what this president has done. But what's your next question?
It's the president, what the president has done.
Negotiations, so there's this meeting this afternoon, the Big Four up on the Hill. We're told, by the way, that Secretary Mnuchin will be there. If the Big Four, if the Treasury Secretary are able to come to some sort of a deal, would President Trump sign off on it, or does he have specific asks specific red lines that have to be in any sort of deal?
I think we'll wait to see what that deal looks like. He's said that he would really like to see
Thank you for the super hearts, Leslie.
those stimulus checks.
Oh, congratulations on your tier 1 status.
In there, but his priority at the end of the day is getting relief to the American people. We're hopeful there will be some sort of agreement, but I would note that we've been the party that's been flexible. We've been the party that's said, hey, standalone PPP, that's funding for small businesses.
Also, the president was the one who walked away and said, I'm done. I've told my people to stop negotiating with Nancy. We need to get Judge Amy Comey Barrett. Comey? I keep calling her Comey. Sorry, that's not right. Amy COVID Barrett confirmed. That's the important part.
And funding for businesses generally to go to pay their employees. We've had a standalone bill that we supported there. We had a standalone unemployment insurance bill. So we've been the party that's been flexible in this.
Clear, if there is a deal that doesn't have direct payments, the president would support it or not.
I'm not going to say if that's a red line or not. I won't get ahead of the negotiations, but I'll just say that we are hopeful there is a deal there that the president can then look at and support. Yes, Catherine?
Does the White House have any comment on Rudy Bailey, the security director who had his leg amputated due to COVID?
Yeah, our heart goes out to his family. They've asked.
Okay, so this is the gentleman who's lost his leg because of COVID, the head of security at the White House.
For privacy, and he is recovering from what I understand. We're very pleased to see that, but he and his family will be in our prayers.
Have you contributed to the GoFundMe to help his family pay for this?
The president had a chance to speak with him?
I'm not sure if the president's had a private conversation with him, nor would I confirm any private conversation that he did have.
Well, you could confirm the private conversation, and I'm sorry, but a conversation between the president and the head of security that has nothing to do with security, but instead the recovery of the patient, is not protected by executive privilege.
Louise.
Thank you.
What is their phrase? What's the they claimed not total privilege, not what's the phrase the Trump campaign has used in court? Not in court, but in Congress. Oh, also in court. They tried it in court, as a matter of fact. In order to avoid the subpoenas, in order for everybody to, is it absolute privilege? I forget. It's been a couple of years now. But when they're asked in Congress what happened or whatever, Jeff Sessions would say, like, I claim something privilege, not executive privilege or absolute privilege. Something. Does anybody remember?
Thank you for doing this. Over the weekend, a statue of Mahatma Gandhi was desecrated by some protesters in downtown DC. This is for the second time this has happened. I would like to have your comments on that.
Yeah, it's terrible. No statue or memorial.
Statue of Mahatma Gandhi was desecrated in D.C. this weekend.
Should be desecrated, and certainly not one like that of Gandhi, who really fought for the values that America represents of peace, justice, and freedom. So that desecration is appalling to see. It's appalling that it's happened more than once, and we believe the reputation of Mahatma Gandhi should be respected, especially here in America's capital.
Ask one more.
Sure.
Does the president believes that the democracy in the United States is under threat? And based on the streets, what are the electoral reforms he wants to push in this country?
What was the first part of your question? I couldn't.
Does the president believe that democracy in the United States is under threat?
That democracy is under threat. He believes that it certainly was under assault when it comes to the investigations into his administration.
And the investigations found that it was under assault from Russia and that he enabled it.
The Mueller probe, the unfortunate way that our FBI was mishandled by folks like Andy McCabe, by folks like Jim Comey, and weaponized in a political way against his candidacy and then against his presidency. Yes, Charlotte.
Thanks, Kevin. Is President Trump planning to take...
I'll show this to you guys, because in case some of you have not seen this before, this is the conclusion of the Senate Intel Committee. Let me zoom in for you. It is our conclusion, based on the facts detailed in the committee's report, that the Russian intelligence services' assault on the integrity of the 2016 election and Trump and his associates' participation in and enabling of this Russian activity represents one of the single most grave counterintelligence threats to American national security in the modern era. Trump enabled Russian assault on our electoral process. So, as far as all of those investigations being an assault on the electoral, no, it was Russia. This is the GOP-led Senate Intel Committee. This isn't partisan, oh, there's 19 Democrat judges. No. This is the GOP finding this.
Take any action after seeing the forensic audit of the machines in Antrim County, Michigan?
I'd have to refer you to the campaign on anything
Don't know who that is.
regarding the election.
Just as far as the 2018 executive order on election interference, has he received a report
Obviously, from her accent, she's from Tennessee.
yet? And when he does receive it, is any of that going to be available for the public to look at?
I am not aware of any report that he's received to that end.
Chanel. Thank you, Kaylee.
Oh, here we go. OAN.
Just want an update statement on Iran, especially in light of the just signed Israel-Morocco deal. Where does the White House see that Iran's standing in the Middle East now? Especially, what is the current assessment from the White House with regards to Iran standing in the Middle East as you continue to sign Middle East deals? Are they going to strengthen? Is it weakening? What is the current White House assessment on Iran?
Yeah, as the region increasingly
I don't understand why she equates Morocco with the Middle East. It's not in the Middle East at all. Israel is. And also, why is she dressed like Carmen Sandiego?
comes together through these peace deals, which Senior Advisor Jared Kushner, Avi Berkowitz, and others, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien deserve a ton of credit for. It's remarkable. But as the region continues to come together, our maximum pressure campaign continues to be effective. Iran is increasingly isolated and weakened. And when President Trump came into office, you know that the region was in extreme turmoil. ISIS had a caliphate, and Iran's proxies were wreaking havoc. Since taking office, President Trump has worked to rebuild trust with our regional partners and identify their shared interests. And unlike the previous administration, which gave Iran piles of cash and a deal with a sunset provision that would have allowed them to get nuclear weapons, this president has isolated Iran, and he's done it through 4 peace deals, which is 4 more than his predecessor. But it's unfortunate that it doesn't give much coverage.
Okay, so let's just dissect that on its face, shall we?
Weapons. This president, unlike the previous administration, which gave Iran piles of cash and a deal with a sunset provision that
gave them back their cash. This is Iran's money. The U.S. did not give Iran any of the U.S. money. It gave Iran its own money back.
Would have allowed them to get nuclear weapons. This president has...
Okay, so then they had a peace deal with Iran. No nuclear weapons, no development for 10 years. She just mentions it right there. She specifically says they had a deal with Iran.
Isolated Iran, and he's done it through 4 peace deals, which is 4 more than his predecessor.
So 4 peace deals is 4 more than at least 1 peace deal that she just mentioned. Math is hard.
But it's unfortunate that it doesn't give much coverage in the mainstream media. But I guess we should...
Because it's nonsense?
Shouldn't be surprised, because in the last 24, 48 hours, there have been quite a few stories that have not gotten a ton of coverage in the mainstream media. As former White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer said, bias is often found in stories the press does not cover. And last week we found out that Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell was infiltrated by an alleged Chinese spy. This spy cozied up.
Is that what they call it? I want to infiltrate you. I want to f you like an animal.
Raised funds for his 2014 campaign, and even planted an intern in his office. And that relationship continued until the FBI briefed him in 2015. And that was some very good reporting done by Axios.
Yeah, that was. Sometimes they're spies. And they don't wear t-shirts that say, I'm a spy. Thanks to Marcy for sending me something. I'll show you guys.
But after entangling with this spy for years, Swalwell hypocritically went on...
Entangling. I want to entangling you. I want to entangle you like an animal.
Want to be one of the lead instigators of the Russia collusion hoax and the impeachment sham. Swalwell wrote this on his congressional webpage. President Trump and his team are directly and indirectly tied to Russia. That was not true. He then
That is 100% true.
said in September of 2020 the president has a compromised relationship with Russia.
The head of the campaign, Paul Manafort, was giving polling data from the campaign to Russian agents, intelligence operatives. There are no ties to Russia. It's just patently false.
Untrue. April of 2019, he said President Trump certainly acts on Russia's behalf and acts like Russia's leader. Not true. January 2019, Eric
Subjective.
Swalwell said it's pretty clear President Donald Trump is an agent of Russia. Not true. And Swalwell shamelessly claimed Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner had an eagerness.
I don't know who Donald Trump Jr. is. Here's the shirt. Totally not a Russian spy. You can buy that t-shirt. Thanks, Marcy.
And a willingness to work with the Russians during the 2016 election. Again, it was false. In 2019, he falsely claimed.
No, he did. He literally said, Russia, if you're listening, can you help me out here? He literally said that. So, his son said, if it's what I think it is, I love it. Especially later in the summer when he thought it was dirt on Hillary Clinton. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Trump was running against Hillary Clinton in 2016.
Claimed this yet again when inquired about collusion by a reporter. And these baseless attacks were false, yet covered breathlessly by the media.
All of those attacks were credibly true. One of them subjective.
There was no coverage, however, of Swalwell being the one implicated with not Russia, but China. In fact, the New York Times website...
I don't know how that's cooperating with China when someone is spying and is lying to you. Does that, I mean, let's say that your spouse goes out and has a fling. Are you cooperating with that? Because you know nothing about it? Is that...
As of this morning, had not one result for Eric Swalwell.
Okay, what is the... she's got the New York Times up, but I...
Swalwell's ties to Chinese spies.
Oh, here we go.
One.
Okay, so New York Times says on one side, Trump said to be warned that Giuliani was conveying Russian disinformation. Later it says investigation of his son is likely to hang over Biden as he takes office. And that is true. It is a Russian disinformation campaign that we've known about more than 18 months ago. Remember back when only OAN would cover this? And Russia was saying, you know, hey, there's a hard drive, etc. And Giuliani was on OAN every day saying the evidence is coming, the evidence is coming. That's what the New York Times... Everyone has known that this is going on and this is related to Russia for months now. But now that we find out that Hunter Biden is being looked at for tax fraud, maybe, we don't really even know because the FBI doesn't talk about that. Because as we found out earlier from Fox and Friends, the FBI doesn't make it a habit to talk about investigations that are ongoing. That's not a thing.
Result. And when the Swalwell story broke, guess how many minutes of coverage it got on ABC, NBC, MSNBC, and CBS?
8?
0.
That's actually not true.
CNN devoted 3 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay, CNN.
To it. However, it was.
Oh, they're talking about on the nightly news. So yes, on the nightly news on the big three networks only gets 30 minutes. You take commercials, you're looking at 22 minutes. You got to put some sports highlights in there if there are any nationally, and you got your main stories going on at the time when the vaccine is coming out and 300,000 Americans are dead. Hey, how much time do you want to support apparently this guy who's not running for office but is related to the president? Apparently he's being investigated on tax things. Oh, what has the DOJ said? Nothing. Should we cover that? What would be to cover? Oh, it's a huge story. He tweeted that he's being looked at for something to do with his taxes. What something? I don't know, didn't say. Yeah, let's give it the full half hour. Screw the commercials.
As covered on Fox. Interesting pre-election and post-election coverage too on the Hunter Biden scandal, which was not covered at all by many outlets. in the lead up to the election. In fact, on October 15th, you had a New York Times headline that said, Trump said to be warned that he was being given Russian disinformation over Hunter Biden. Now, December 10th, just a few months later, New York Times headline, investigation of Hunter Biden is likely to hang over Biden as he takes office. Washington
Both of those are accurate.
Post on October 16th, the headline read, the truth behind the Hunter Biden non-scandal. Now you have the Washington Post headline that says this, Hunter Biden tax probe examining Chinese business deals.
Yeah.
Politico.
That's two different things, though. One was a laptop that had almost no credibility to it. The other is about a newly announced investigation. No, the investigation isn't new, but we didn't know about it. Why? Because, again, the DOJ doesn't make a habit of...
October 19th, Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation. That's a favorite. Dozens of former intel officials say false.
This is really disingenuous because they're not telling us what are opinion pieces and what aren't. So there's absolutely no way to gauge the veracity of either of these headlines.
Yet again, December 2nd, now Politico reads, Justice Department's interest in Hunter Biden covered more than taxes. Really interesting turn of events, and good for those who covered what was a story all along and not Russia disinformation.
So that's the walkaway, I think. Was the last question from OAN? I think it was, but it wasn't about Hunter Biden. They were probably expecting it to be. But here's the thing. I don't care. If it's Joe Biden, absolutely. Get the dirt on that. Even if Hunter took money from China in exchange for encouraging his dad to... By the way, Chuck Grassley, Ron Johnson being the senator who's just rabid about this Hunter Biden stuff, they did an 86-page report on this, and the report determined that there wasn't a single government policy that was affected by any of this, and that if in some way it was the breaking of some sort of ethics law, it wouldn't apply to the vice president because the vice president is exempt from any ethics law that might be even close to this. Now, is something bad? Maybe. But we just don't know. And that's maybe why journalists aren't covering this as heavily as they might, because we just don't know. Maybe they're digging into it. The New York Times, by the way, knew that Donald Trump was under investigation by the FBI before the election in 2016. When we had gone through months of Hillary being pilloried. That rhymes. I'm a poet and I don't even realize it. For months, Hillary being pilloried in the media because of an investigation that we all knew about. And then Anthony Weiner happened and it was all in the... And she lost the election, probably largely because of that. But they knew about Donald Trump and they didn't tell us.
Isn't it hypocritical for you to accuse others of
disinformation that's it.
When you spread it every day?
What? What's that last question?
Covered what was a story all along and not Russia disinformation.
Isn't it hypocritical for you to accuse others of disinformation when you spread it every day?
Isn't it hypocritical to accuse others of disinformation when you spout it every day?
Where are you going?
Valid question. I believe that was Jim Acosta, who was not called on. Sounded like Jim Acosta. I don't know. I didn't see him there. Sounded like him. Could have been somebody else. Could have been something else. Leslie, thank you again for the Super Hearts. Congratulations on your Tier 1 status. Yeah, I thought it was Jim Acosta too. Maybe it wasn't. We can find out here from Jim likes to tweet about stuff like that. Let's go look up Jim's Twitters and see maybe if that was him. Twitters and at Jim Acosta. No? Or is it just Acosta? Acosta. Yep, there it is. One tweet this last hour. Fact check. There won't be a continuation of power. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even catch this, but this is what she said.
Does the president oppose the Senate taking up Joe Biden's nominees before the inauguration?
I think that's a hypothetical, and he won't get ahead of that activity actually happening. But he has taken all statutory requirements necessary to either ensure a smooth transition or a continuation of power.
Question about confirmation.
Didn't even catch that. Yeah, there will be no continuation of power. Biden has won. There will be a transition of power, but she just has to get that in there. Bye, Debbie. Thanks for joining us. Let's see if there's anything happening in the last few minutes here. Okay. George Conway says the importance of this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, on a private conference call moments ago, McConnell urged GOP senators not to join House members on January 6 to object to state electoral results. No senators have pushed back so far, according to a source. So here's their plan. There is a process because of the Electoral Count Act. It's in 1876, several states during Reconstruction, 4 of them, sent 2 sets of electors to the Electoral College. So those electors, nobody could decide which electors were, because some were governors, some were sent by the legislature, and the states hadn't worked it out. So they came up with the Electoral Count Act, and the way that worked is if a member of the House and a member of the Senate from the same state had a problem with an elector, they could object. And then the Senate would go away and the House would go away, and they would all come back together, and they would decide, both houses, both chambers separately would have to say, we agree with this or we don't agree with this, and then they go on to the next electoral vote, and then someone could object to that. So apparently, according to this, Mitch McConnell is telling his people, let's not get involved with this, because of course the Democrats control the House, so they're not going to overturn any of the electors. Because Biden has 306 votes, all he needs is 270, it would make no sense. So there's literally no chance of this happening unless a whole bunch of Democrats suddenly decided they hated Biden. That's what McConnell is talking about if this report is true. However, I've looked into it. Do not tell anybody this, especially if they're Republican. There is no procedure, there is no senatorial procedure for how a vote is taken. So if it reverts back to regular order in the Senate, a Republican, let's just say somebody from Wisconsin, pick a congressperson, there's a bunch of wacky ones up there, decides, I object to the Pennsylvania votes. And a senator from Ron Johnson says, I agree. Wait, am I going nuts? Hold on. Oh, I wanna make sure this story is accurate. Okay, senators from Wisconsin. Ron Johnson. Correct. Thank you, Judge. Wow, I never get that from the judges. They were being such assholes earlier today. Wow. So let's say Ron Johnson objects. Let's say there's a bunch of Wisconsin Republicans. One of them objects. Now, you have to separate the chambers, and the chambers have to vote separately, yay or nay, on the objection. Should we allow these votes? Should we not allow the votes? McConnell, according to my understanding, could decide just to delay the vote. And then what happens? Well, according to the Constitution, on the 20th of January, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, becomes president. And we would have our first female president. Not so bad. However, also, because of the amendments to the Constitution, if we don't actually have an answer to all of that, on March 4th, Mike Pence becomes president. Mike Pence then could appoint Donald Trump his vice president, and then no one knows what the hell happens. Mike Pence resigns. Does Donald Trump, is approval needed? There are some thinking, because some part of the law says that the House and the Senate have to approve a vice president in that situation, and some don't. So I don't know. Let's say, Kevin, be quiet. I know, we'll delete that part. Nobody listened to that part. Hold on a second. Somebody besides me must have figured this out. Let's see. This is this is crazy stuff being credited to Jenna Ellis about how Pence would fix this for Trump. Is that what you're talking about? Possibly. That's how it looks from my reading. But could McConnell just say, okay, so the people of the United States, and by the way, if this happens before, if two Democrats win in Atlanta or in Georgia, I always do that, then what happens? Because of course the special election senators won't get seated, but if they do get seated before the 20th, then they could force a vote in the Senate, because no, they still couldn't, because Kamala wouldn't be vice president yet. So one way or the other, the Republicans will control the Senate, even if the Democrats have 50 senatorial members, because the vice president breaks the tie, and the vice president until the 20th will be Mike Pence. I don't know. Thank you very much for the Super Hearts, Chuck. Somebody who knows more than me should look into that. Does that person exist? Really, judges? You don't... I get it. Yes. Yes! I get it. The trouble being is that almost every time I see a constitutional law expert on TV, they don't know. They just don't know. With the exception of Barack Obama. There's a bunch of constitutional. Do you guys remember the Sherlock Holmes of the impeachment trial? I want to see. I look at this guy and I say, this is our what's his name? Cumberbatch. What's not Bernard? You know, Sherlock Holmes. Doctor Strange. What's his Benedict? This is our Benedict Cumberbatch. I'm going to pull him up here. See, I should be able to find it pretty quickly here. Let me just check and see. Okay, I have to do a quick search for it because I can't remember his name. But I want to see if he has the same effect on you ladies as I think that he should. Hold on. I just want to play this for you. Go ahead and take off because we're almost done here, guys. But I want to see from you ladies in the audience if this guy has the same kind of effect that I think that he should. I have it on my phone. I just don't know that I ever loaded it up onto my computer. And, oh, come on, computer. Next one. Boop, boop. Let me go in here. Yes, I know who it was. I'm going to play this. I don't know if there's going to be the visuals that I want here, but I'll just play this and see what happens here. This is 36 seconds long.
Of abuse of power based on that evidence and those findings.
Based on that evidence and those findings,
the impeachable high crime and misdemeanor of abuse of power based on that evidence and those findings.
Based on that evidence and those findings, the president did commit an impeachable abuse of office.
Professor Carlin, same question.
Same answer.
Okay, so Noah Feldman, that guy, that is America's Bernadette Cumberbatch. Am I wrong? That's a constitutional law professor. He's wearing the little sport jacket with the, that's not called heathering. What is that? There's the material. I don't even know what it's called. I wish I knew words. I do know what it's called. I just can't think of it right now. But is that, am I wrong here, ladies? Was that not the sexiest part? No? Nobody? Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. But that guy, Tweed, thank you. Yeah, he's got his tweed sport coat on, herringbone. His tweed herringbone. But that's the closest I've seen after watching Sherlock to a Benedict Cumberbatch here in the United States. doesn't have the raw animal magnetism that the good Benedict has? Yeah, nobody, really. Wow. If I was a chick, I would be all over this guy. I was trying to think of I'm not even going to bother with it. Thank you, Chris Wilson. To guys, he's hot. If I had to get gay married, this guy would be my guy. That's what I'm saying right there. Because I'm a complete nerd. And we would have like the wonkiest conversations. I do. He's like, the guy's super smart. And you know what else too? It's that he was one of the few people that would come out with stuff that I was like, yes, that's exactly what I've been saying. And why doesn't anybody else know this? Chris Wilson says, I jumped the fence for that. Anyway, Babe says we like unkempt hair and baggy t-shirts, Kevin. That's because you're in Saskatoon and you've never seen anybody not wearing a t-shirt, Babe. March says, both my boys think Cumberbatch is hot and only one of them is gay. I think Cumberbatch is hot. That's why I'm asking. That's why the comparable is Benedict Cumberbatch. That's what I'm saying. But I guess, who doesn't like sharks? Who doesn't like sharks? Green Room. Okay, kids. I think that's enough for a broadcast today. That was an hour and 17 minutes. Maybe we'll be back later. We'll see what the day holds. Has anything happened in the last few minutes that we need to pay attention to? David, if you're still in the room. Oh, I got to write something to David. Here's a question for David. My apologies. Here's an answer for David. David said, hey, how come you can get a copyright strike for 6 seconds of a song? By the way, YMCA, I got a copyright strike and I timed it. It's 2.5 seconds of YMCA. Boom. They got me on a copyright strike that quickly. Now, this is not a copyright strike. Copyright strike is something very serious. You get 3 strikes like Family Feud, you're done, right? They suspend your account. So, not a cop. What you usually get is, for example, I'm trying to monetize this. So if somebody watches it and they watch the ad, I get a few pennies. And at the end of the month, it can add up. So good. What they can do is take away the monetization on something. And so the ad revenue doesn't go to you. It goes to whoever the copyright holder is. That's fine. David said, how come that can happen when there's literally complete albums of people on here? How do they get away with it? Here's how. They're not monetizing that. The artists get to monetize that. So you still see ads maybe before. Sometimes you don't see any ads at all. Some artists, it's not even the artists. It's the publishing companies. So EMI or Sony or whoever owns the rights to that music, they are the publishers and they get the money, and the artist, some of it trickles down to the artist eventually, but it's very seldom the artists who are all about that, except for maybe Metallica. I don't even know if they're about it anymore. Anyway, so you can watch whole albums, you can watch music, you really don't ever have to buy a CD ever again, because who buys CDs? So you don't have to put an 8-track in your... but YouTube will take the copyright revenue. If I took a song like that and I put it to the background of my video, and it was a song that was copyrighted, and I did it a lot of times, and I put it up on YouTube, at some point, YouTube might say, hey, you've had too many copyright violations. We're suspending your account for X amount of time. By the way, does anybody know what happened to Man in the Hoodie? He got parody versions are okay, Dr. Layla. I fought that battle, and it's now allowed on YouTube. You can choose parody under the fair use. You can dispute a copyright violation, and parody is now in there. So that's good. But it has to be a recognizable parody. I mean, you can't just take the same song recording and put it up there. And you have to make sure that it's your own recording. You can't take somebody else's recording, like a karaoke track, sing over it, and then put it up there. You can't do that either. Did the Dr. Jill Biden attack annoy you? It's just dumb. It's just insanely stupid. Did it annoy me? Not really. I'm used to it. It's just dumb. She put in her time. She earned a doctorate. Does anybody know, is Myth around anymore? I haven't seen him. We used to follow each other on Twitter, and I just haven't seen anything from him in a long time. Let me pull that up, see if Man in the Hoodie is out there anyway. He might have got, because he got suspended for copyright on Twitter, and his videos got a lot of notice. Let's see, Man in the Hoodie. Let's see if he's got himself. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is Who is the Man in the Hoodie. And he's got 138 followers. He's been around since 2018. Yeah, everyone is saying, where is Smith? I don't know who he is. I've written to him before. We've talked. I don't know anything that happened. Does anybody know? Alex Jones' show is starting right now. Oh, that's on Newsmax. Okay. I thought you were going to say Leslie Jones has a show on us. I would watch the fuck out of that. By the way, in order to keep the ads, this is what I'm now doing. I have to say fuck at some point during the broadcast so that when they ask me if I want to monetize it, I can say yes. And they say, does it contain any of the following? Anything, offensive? And then I can say light swearing after the first 30 seconds, but not in the title. So now that I've done that, it gets past the YouTube monetization filters. If I don't say that, I say, no, everything's fine. I can, for example, remember Trump's 46-minute speech about how he was election frauded and everything? We covered that. And I said, no, there's nothing, there's no talk of killing people, all of the stuff that you might find objectionable on YouTube. They demonetized it anyway. And then I can dispute it and say, hey, have a human look at this and see, is there any of that going on in here? And they decided, yeah, no. So YouTube is literally demonetizing me because of the president and things that the president says. I don't know. Maybe it's an election fraud thing. I don't know. Okay. Good night, Barb. Have fun putting your daughter to bed. Seems early, but you're not here, so that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I can go to Newsmax and watch the show. I think Alex is on Newsmax. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. All right, I'm all out of voice. I'm done with my voice. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks for watching. No, it doesn't matter if you swear or curse in the chat room, as far as I know. But that doesn't, like, swearing is okay, and that's why I swore. You just can't put, like, a bad word in the title. But now that I've sworn, I can say, yes, there is swearing later on. Them's the rules. Okay, kids, here are the closing credits. They're not new. Okay, hold on. I'm coming back here.
Where are you going?
So, YouTube, hold on. Quiet. YouTube has already made this particular video that we're doing right now. They've already limited the ads on it because of ad suitability. So just seeing Kayleigh McEnany or something like that on there, they've decided, well, this is not going to stand. So I'm going to try and change it to me swearing and see if that fixes it. I'll stay with you in case anyone's interested here. Let me save that and see if they give me the option to do... Usually you do that before the video. And it just goes right back to monetization limited. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix that. So now I can request a review, and it's so random too, because a lot of times they'll review it and say, fine, no, this is fine. But then I'll get another couple of videos that are like, oh no, we can't do this. And it's all the same stuff. It's all just the live stream, but they decide it's random. It's whoever happens to be looking at it at the time. You know what we need? We need to get rid of Section 230.
Where are you going?
Kevin, thanks for that.